Hello everyone. So this is going to try to be a quick video to sort of demonstrate what you need to be looking for and doing in both your revision assignment and your final paper assignment, specifically with how to navigate MyGrades. So um, I'm using my Comp 2 class, my current Comp 2 class, but this video is posted both in my Comp 2 class and in my Comp 1 class because you're doing basically the same things, just different subject and scope of things that we're looking for. So I'll keep it very general, but just understand that. So when you go to MyGrades, this is the instructor view. I can't see what you guys see, but basically the only difference is that you'll have scores here. Um, Make sure first things first, order by course order. If it's in any one of these other ones, it's not going to look exactly the way it's intended to look through MyGrades. So make sure it's under course order. You're going to go down to major essay feedback first. This will be for the revision of the first essay assignment. And of course, you have a blue bubble and a score. If you click the blue bubble, it'll show you something I'm about to show you. But you can also click it through right here. Click here to submit. So if you clicked that, it will open up to a page that looks like this. Now, first off, let me just say that these are not actual notations. I did this to protect the identity of the student sample that I'm using. So these will not be in anybody's paper, but they're just there. So first things first, if you would come over to this side, you'll see what is in that blue bubble beside the score through the MyGrades homepage. And it is a rubric that I use for everybody. The first little bit of information is basically just some refresher, what to do to look for the actual comments and etc. There's always going to be a note here encouraging you to set up an appointment if you want to talk. I love talking to my students about their papers. I have over 150 students on a given semester, so I don't really make it a requirement except for a handful of students. I reach out and let you know that we have to set up an appointment for a conference, but everyone is free to do so. I make plenty of time to do that, and I always put a note there in that if you have any questions. Okay, so this is a pretty typical score for the first, or second essay assignment in the class. 30 points is what's graded during the majority of the semester for those assignments. And 23 out of 30 indicates that you're doing mostly well. You're covering things for the most part, but there are a few things lacking in our basic requirements, and that's more broken down a little bit below. So what these points are indicating is what is up for grabs in the portfolio. For example, you'll see a similar breakdown this is the first essay assignment, so you'd see a similar breakdown in essay assignment number 2, and essay assignment number 2 is not required to revise, but I use the same breakdown just to give you some general feedback of how you're doing in these other important areas. So how do I interpret this? What does this mean? Well, this means what you want to do is you want to look at this breakdown here to let you know what is dragging the score down the most. So for example, if you start with grammar, we can see 9 out of 10, which lots of students, especially in Comp 2, do fairly well in that. That should let you know, oh, 9 out of 10, well, that's an A, so I don't need to worry about grammar. That is absolutely the attitude you should have, because an 8 or a 9 out of 10, I'm not looking for anything grammar-wise in your revision. Okay, content, we see here, 9 out of 15. That's a substantial deduction. Okay, so that should let you know the content, that is the scope aspect of the criterion set for how I grade your papers. That means that some of the things that you're saying is not really hitting the mark on what I've asked you to do, depending on the assignment's requirements. Excuse me. And then MLA. So for Comp 1, this is just the general, the way it looks, the general presentation of MLA formatting. In Comp 2, it's that plus it's our citation requirements that are asked of you in each assignment. So this example is a Comp 2 paper, and so we see 7 out of 10. That's average, but it's not exactly where we want to be. So I know that these two things are probably what is dragging my score down. Okay, so overall impression, that lets us know, okay, if I were to put a letter grade on this right now, it'd be a C, 7 out of 10. 8 out of 10 would be a B, 9 out of 10 would be an A, so on and so on. So how do I go back and revise so that I bring that up and I want to get an A? I'm going to pay close attention to the notes, that the instructor, me, has given you regarding MLA and content for this example, right? Because those are the two things that are most important. Okay. Now, to do that, you want to pay attention to the notes throughout. Some of them are encouragement notes. You'll see, most especially after the intro, I'm usually trying to give you what you did right or if it's on the right track, etc. The first note is always going to be for everyone in the upper left-hand corner, and it's basically just letting you know what the assignment's feedback is geared towards, because I don't really focus on every aspect of writing in each and every assignment. I look at different things differently for each assignment, and so this will let you know what in this particular assignment I am giving specific feedback towards. And make sure that you read all of them. I try to keep it fairly sparse, not too much to overbear you, but you'll notice little notes sprinkled throughout, okay? And it's geared towards revision. For Comp 2, you'll always have something here related to the citation aspect. You'll also have a note that's pointing you towards additionals that are required in the revision assignment. So, for example, in Comp 2, especially if you got a 9 out of 10 or even a 10 out of 10, sometimes I give that for the overall impression score. That doesn't mean you're exempt from the revision assignment. We have additional things that are required in the revision. You'll see those notes included. And then at the bottom, there's always what's called a summary note, just to sort of summarize, what you're seeing. Yeah, so that's what that's geared towards. Now, when you go back here to the rubric, the general rubric, what this should tell you, this overall impression score, okay? If this student does not fully address what has been brought out in, for example, the MLA and the content areas here, let's say the student goes in and just says, oh, I'm going to just fix some commas or some spelling. Okay, that would be grammar things that maybe that you go through with a fine-tooth comb and pick out. That's all well and good, but if you don't actually address what I told you was dragging your score down, which is this is what that is, that's telling you it's dragging your score down, okay? Then this is how your deductions from your total score are figured in. Okay, if you haven't addressed what I actually told you you need to focus on, then your grade will be deducted. Not your overall grade in the class, but on this assignment for the revision assignment. Okay, that's how I figure in deductions. So be very, very careful not to just try to do something just to do something. Actually pay attention to the feedback and make sure you're applying it. Okay. Now, real quick, I just want to show you an example of a student submission for the revision assignment. I put this student sample in multiple places during these final weeks so that you can see, what an example of end product result. You'll see this in the directions and such, what I'm asking you, and I've also annotated this just to show you what's going on here. We've got our highlights for our changes regarding any grammar or content changes, and then our citation changes. Again, Comp 2, this is a Comp 2 example, and we see that sprinkled throughout. This would definitely be an A paper. This is doing exactly what I've asked. Again, Comp 2 example. So my Comp 1 students, don't freak out. I'm not asking you to do a works cited page for your revision of your first essay. Comp 2 students will be, but it's all there to behold, and that is doing exactly what I've asked to do. I can look at it and see, okay, major changes have been applied. Real quick, I do want to show an example. Again, Comp 2, this is the final paper. Comp 1 students, you have a similarly formatted final paper, so that's why I use it like this. Make sure you're looking at the student sample. Make sure you're looking at my notes that's guiding you. How I grade the final papers in both Comp 1 and Comp 2. I open it up. I look and I see that the MLA formatting, this one, for example, looks great. Check. This looks very clean. And then the first thing I do is I actually scroll all the way down to see the page length. I get to the 4th page. Once it's on the 4th page, I'm very happy. I'm like, okay, great. We're headed towards the page count requirement. Then I come down to the 4th page and I see the 5th page and I go, yes, check. I know this student has met the page requirement. If you stop anywhere on the 4th page, I have to do a word count. This is the departmental rubric. If you do not meet the full word count, I cannot give you over 30 points for that final paper. That is the departmental rubric. That is the way we grade. It's very strict. Make sure you get on the 5th page, all right? Just add words, do a free write if you run out of things to say. Just don't leave that out. And then I scroll all the way down for Comp 2. Again, Comp 2, this is a Comp 2 paper. I look at the works cited page. I see that it looks clean. It looks formatted consistently with the rest of the paper. Your indentions are correct. Check. I go. I don't get into the weeds of this. Comp 1, you must submit your list of sources assignment. You can either do it in the document itself or you can attach it in the Dropbox, but that's the other thing that I check. If you don't have that, Comp 2 students, if you don't have your works cited page, I can't give you over 30 points. So you have to fulfill the citation requirements in full according to your assignment, Comp 1 or Comp 2 students. Then I go back and I scroll all the way to the top and I read the first page. And I'm checking for basically organization. If you have your thesis, you'll see that I've asked to highlight the thesis. I can look and see if it's properly formulated thesis statement. Check. I check for grammar, and I just basically am giving you the benefit of the doubt. If your first page is very clean, I can see that you've thought long and hard about how you formulate your sentences and cleaned up any repetitive grammar issues that have been identified in the past. I give you the benefit of the doubt and check. Then what I do is I skim through and I am looking for the majors of what I've asked you to cover, and just I'm making sure that you're doing those things. You're using the language I've asked you to use. I'm not meticulous. I'm not hunting for errors. I'm not super critical of the ideas you put forward. I'm just making sure that you're using the language. For Comp 1 and Comp 2, I've asked that you highlight the citation requirements. I check those. I make sure that they look clean. They look like they've used the feedback that I've provided in the past to my, to the satisfaction of it's a full-on attempt. And this, again, would be an A paper. This has done everything that I've asked, okay? Make sure you're doing everything I ask because I want to give you an A, believe me. If it is not meeting those requirements, remember these are the basic requirements, all right? This has almost nothing to do with your actual ideas, those kinds of things. This is what I just showed you, the check that I do. I showed you a few things that are accessible points past the basic requirements, like general MLA formatting, grammar, thesis statement, making sure you've covered what I asked you to language wise. Some of that's, your 45 additional points beyond the basic requirements, but the length, the citation expectations, and just the general that you're covering. You're not giving me, informational report on Venezuela, that has nothing to do with the assignment that's been asked. As long as you're doing those things, I can give you 30 and beyond and let you earn those other additional points, those 45 that I want you to earn. Okay, if you have any questions at all, please, please, please let me know. We have plenty of time. We have a couple of weeks. Don't forget about grade review week. That's where you have an extra chance if you get everything in your portfolio on time. I can have it assessed by finals week and we can visit it together if you're unhappy with your overall grade. Good luck. Happy writing.